Hello everybody, good evening and welcome back to the Bruce Scott Show. I'm glad you joined us this evening, and as I promised, this is our election special. Now, part of my pledge with this station is to bring you unbiased news, and that's what we're going to do by and large every time we can. But I have to be honest with you, I got a dog in this fight. I just can't see any way anybody could ever vote for Hillary Clinton. So with that in mind, I put those cards on the table. We're going to start our election special. And the first part is top 10 reasons why you cannot vote for Hillary Clinton. All right, reason number 10, she's a liar. Now, we all know this. It's been proven. Take 5 minutes to do the research yourself. It's all over the internet, anywhere you want to check. This lady lies like nobody else. If you have a red colored car, she can look you in your face and convince you that car is blue. I mean, this lady's ability to lie is epic, pathological. It's amazing. Now, Donald Trump is not without sin when it comes to lying. I'll say that, put that right out there. So what's the difference between the two when it comes to lying? Here's the difference. Now, both candidates have told their fair share of lies. Donald Trump tends to flip-flop on the issues a bit. He's exaggerated facts. Both of them have done that. So what's the difference between the two candidates? The main difference is Hillary Clinton's lies are absolutely criminal. They are done to further her criminal enterprises and to cover up the things that she has done. And that leads us to our number 9 reason why you cannot vote for Hillary Clinton. Number 9, she is a criminal. All right, we won't go over all the offenses. This show is not long enough for that. I'll just give you some of her career lowlights, if you will. First of all, deleting 30,000 emails and destroying several devices those emails were on is obstruction of justice. Any way you look at it, by any determination, that is a felony. It is obstruction of justice. Her handling of classified emails, that would get anybody else thrown in jail. James Comey said as much. Her involvement in the Clinton Foundation. It is absolutely against the law what she has done. And you want some proof? I will read you the law that she broke. Now, I'm actually going to read from something here so I don't get this wrong. All right, the law states that no person holding any public office shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present, as in a gift, or employment of office, in other words, they pay you and you give them a position, or title of any kind from any king, prince, or foreign estate. That is exactly what she did in the case of the Clinton Foundation. So she has absolutely been proven to be a criminal. Now, of course, those among you will ask, well, then why isn't she in jail? They haven't pressed any charges, so it can't be true. The only reason that this woman is not in jail or not indicted is quite simple. There is no person or persons or entity or entities that are going to be the individuals responsible for stopping the candidacy of the first woman that has an actual shot at becoming president. That's the only reason. Nobody wants to be that historical footnote. All right, number 8. Her immigration policies. And this is not necessarily about the southern border. This is about the number of people coming into this country in general. Because if you have studied this at all, you know that one of the main problems with immigration is people that overstay their visas. Okay, we simply don't need that many people coming into this country. You know, I like to explain it to people this way. If you ran a household and your mortgage is behind a couple of months' rent and you're barely paying the bills, you and the kids can barely afford to eat, would you then invite 5 more people into your house that have no income or any way of making income? No, it just doesn't make sense. We do not need more people in our house right now. And there's another more terrifying aspect of her immigration policy, the Muslim situation. There are already 3.3 million Muslims in the United States. Her plan is to allow thousands to perhaps maybe tens of thousands more over the course of her presidency into the United States. And here's the problem with that. The average American Muslim family has 8 children, whereas the average American family has it somewhere around 1.5. There's a big problem with that number. In very short order, within only a generation or two, we're talking about tens of millions of Muslims in this country. And what's wrong with that? Well, I don't have enough to go into all the detail of what's wrong with that, but in short order, our streets could end up looking like this. This is Luton, England, if you can believe it. This is Germany. This is France. And I got one better for you. This is a small town in Michigan. So now I'm asking you, Susie Homemaker, who doesn't want to keep score at her son's soccer games, do you really want to get little Billy to soccer practice walking through this? Or do you want to go shopping at Walmart and have to walk through this? Well, that's what's going to happen if you elect Hillary Clinton. Number 7, war. That's right, I said war. You know, everybody wants to talk about Donald Trump not being fit to have the nuclear codes or have his hand on the button. First of all, this is complete alarmist garbage. It doesn't work that way. He can't suddenly roll out of bed with his messed up, already weird hairstyle and decide to set the universe on fire. It doesn't work that way. They're just trying to scare you with that. As a matter of fact, everybody knows Hillary is a complete war hawk, and that her policies literally set the Middle East on fire, created a vacuum for ISIS, and guess what? Now they're running stuff over there. So if you want to worry about war, Hillary's the one to worry about. Furthermore, Putin hates Hillary. They have a long history. She did not exactly conduct herself the best with him, and guess what? Now he can't stand her. Why is this a problem? This is a problem because in world politics, you know, ISIS is, you know, they're a problem, but they're nothing compared to Russia. Russia is the other big boy on the block. And if we can't get on some common footing with them, that's a real national security issue. And guess what? Putin already favors Donald Trump, and they have somewhat of a weird off-the-books rapport kind of a thing going on. And what is necessarily so bad with that? They might actually then be willing to team up with us and fight ISIS and these other terrorist networks together. Number 6, the economy. If you vote Hillary Clinton in, what we're going to get is 4 or maybe even 8 more years of Obamonomics. Now, both sides represent numbers that the left will give you numbers that represent that Obama did a good job and lifted the economy and that kind of stuff. And the right really does seem to have more powerful numbers indicating that that is not at all the case. But you know what? Let's use a little bit of common sense here. Let's look around you. Does it seem like everybody's getting a job? Does it seem like everybody's getting high-paying jobs? Have you gotten a raise lately? Use some common sense. Now, what does Trump bring to the table? He's a businessman. If he knows anything, it's business. He's not perfect. We all know that. And I can't say exactly what he'll do as far as all of his promises go, but I'm willing to bet you anything that one of the things he will do is bring businesses back to this country, because he is willing to take the tough steps that will force them, or maybe even incentivize them, to build their manufacturing plants here, bringing real, decent paying jobs to American citizens. Look, he's had over 500 companies, and people want to talk about his bankruptcies. Well, he declared bankruptcy 4 times out of 500 businesses. I challenge you to find anybody else who has ever had as good a record as that. The other thing he'll do, you better believe he's going to negotiate better trade deals. Hillary will not. Hillary is down TPP. Down with TPP. Are you down with TPP? She is down with NAFTA. She wants to spin it around now and say she's not, but she has been in bed with these agreements forever. Donald Trump will not stand for it. He will absolutely negotiate a better deal because he doesn't have hidden agendas. So this money isn't going into his pockets. Hillary? And that brings us to number 5. We're going to get to number 5 in a second, but first we're going to do a quick commercial break.
Hold on. aren't you the one who deleted all those emails?
I never deleted any emails.
She never deleted any emails. Hold on. Aren't you the one that lied to Congress and the American public?
I never lied to anyone.
She never lied to anyone.
You can move along now.
You can move along now.
Woo-hoo! All right, everybody, welcome back. And now it's time for the bottom 5 of the reasons why you cannot vote for Hillary Clinton. Reason number 5, because by electing her in office, you bring back the greatest predator ever to be in office. That's right. Of course, I'm talking about Slick Willie himself, Bill Clinton. Over a dozen women have accused him of either rape or consensual affairs. And a lot of people, once again, they want to just cast this off as right-wing conspiracies and that kind of thing. Let me put this notion in your hat for a second. He's been accused of having over a dozen either consensual sexual affairs on his wife or actual rape. Now, we're going to go into the rape accusations actually later in this piece, so I'm not going to belabor that point too much. But now, what happens here? Everybody wants to write this off as right-wing conspiracies. No way he could have done all these things. They're making it up. Let me say this to you. I don't know of a case ever in history where there have been that many people accusing someone of the same crime, particularly when it pertains to sexual assault, and it has not been true. Every time it has been true. Number 4, murder. That's right, I said murder. Now, my mind actually had a little bit of a hard time wrapping around this myself. And so what we're going to do is later on, we're going to delve into this in greater detail. And I was very skeptical. But as I investigated, it is at least enough to make you think. So stay tuned. We're going to go into detail on that one. Number 3, the woman card. This is the last card this woman should ever play. First of all, she's far too supportive of Muslims in America. And as we know, Muslims everywhere are the greatest oppressors, rapists, and murderers of women in the entire world. There is not a close second. As a matter of fact, she has taken hundreds of millions of dollars from these countries. So she cannot support both ends. It simply does not work. Furthermore, she stayed with a serial cheater and rapist and even enabled him. Does this to you say that she's all in for women? The only woman Hillary is all in for is Hillary. The number 2 reason you cannot vote for Hillary Clinton, the Supreme Court. Her appointments to the Supreme Court will put this country in a direction that we will not be able to reverse out of. Now, the details of this are a bit complicated, but I'll just highlight some of the more predominant issues that will come up. First of all, the Second Amendment rights. The attack on our Second Amendment rights will be epic, and it will be a serious problem if we allow Hillary to get in office. Second, Citizens United. There is no way, if we allow Hillary Clinton in the office, that we will ever be able to get big money donors out of politics. And that is the single reason why our political system is as massively corrupt as it is now. You cannot think that someone's going to give your campaign tens or hundreds of millions of dollars and then you don't owe them anything afterwards. Donald Trump is willing to fight Citizens United. If she appoints the next couple of Supreme Court justices, we're going to have an atmosphere that continues to be anti-business. And this country already has businesses fleeing at epic rates. Democracy itself. Now, where do I get that one from? Well, it's quite simple. They never gave you a choice. Hillary was going to be your choice whether you wanted it or not. The Democrats never gave you another choice realistically. What did they do? They ran a 72-year-old socialist against her. They gave her every advantage. They gave her all the superdelegates, which were 500 superdelegates. There's a general fund that's supposed to be for all of the Democratic candidates. It was hundreds of millions of dollars. They put all that money into Hillary. Bernie didn't get a dime of it. They stole the democratic process from you. Now let's look on the other side of the aisle. Donald Trump defeated 17 other candidates, and he did that all the while battling Republicans themselves, the Democrats, and the mainstream media all at the same time. So now, when I say this, I might puke in my own mouth a little bit, but a vote for Donald Trump is a vote for democracy itself. All right, that's it, everybody. That's the top 10 reasons why you simply cannot vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, I could have easily made this list 20 or 30 reasons that you can't vote for Hillary. One of the ones I left out is her complete lack of accomplishments while she was New York Senator and while she was Secretary of State. But I'm going to leave that open. I'm going to send you guys a challenge. If any of you can send me a video or a message citing any significant accomplishments she had during those periods, we'll put it on the program and we'll debate it. So that's all for our top 10 list. We'll have a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back for our next exciting segment. And another thing that's been sticking in my brain for a little while now, everybody was on about Donald Trump has to be more presidential. He has to act more presidential. And granted, he's definitely a little rough around the edges. But
thank you very much, everybody.
really? Is this the standard of what acting presidential is? Hello everybody, welcome back, and now we got the next exciting segment for you. Hold on to your britches, if you will. We're going to talk about how democracy is being stolen from you, and I'm serious with that. You know, and educating myself a little bit more about the political process and everything that's going on. It is amazing how they are continually trying to negate democracy in a democratic society. It's really kind of a little bit mind-boggling. We're going to start with the current campaign, and we'll go backwards a little bit. Both sides are guilty of this. You know, first of all, of course, you know, most of you know, politics is a lot like the World Wrestling Federation. You know, they beat the heck out of each other, and they hate each other and can't stand each other in front of us when the lights are on. But then afterwards, they go in the back and, you know, have a beer, or in the case of politics, a round of golf, or kill somebody or something like that. But so at the end of the day, they really are colluding. I don't want to say against us, but you know, in a lot of ways, it really seems like they are kind of colluding against us. Now, let's take, like I said, the current election cycle that we have going on here. So, how did both sides did it? But how did the Democrats, for instance, conspire to steal your democracy, if you will? Well, guess what? You Democrats didn't have a choice but to vote for Hillary Clinton. You weren't given another choice. I mean, really, seriously? They ran a 72-year-old socialist that no one had ever heard of before this election against Hillary. Bernie Sanders, really? Wasn't he the guy in the balcony at the Muppets?
It was a very good year for small town girls. Soft summer nights.
Oh, yes.
No one had heard of this guy before. But guess what? People started to feel the burn. People really came out and voted for him. Now, a good part of it was just because people can't stand Hillary. I mean, she's one of the most hated candidates to ever run for office. She can't fill a bingo hall while Trump is busy selling out like a rock star everywhere he goes. But, so now, Bernie's making ground, he's doing things. How else did they cheat you out of your democracy? How did they make sure that this woman was anointed as queen of the United States? Now, she hasn't gotten the crown yet, but that's what they're working towards, right? Of course. Now, I mentioned a little bit in the top 10 list, there was a general fund of hundreds of millions of dollars that was supposed to be divided evenly between the primary candidates, which would, on the Democratic side, which of course would be Bernie and Hillary. That didn't happen. All of that money went straight to Hillary Clinton. All of it. They had to stack the deck against a 72-year-old socialist just to get this lady going. Additionally, superdelegates. There are a possibility of 714 superdelegates. Hillary, right from the beginning, in her hip pocket, over 570 superdelegates. That's an impossible edge to overcome. That would be like me playing you in a game of horse, and I spot you the H, the O, the R, and the S. What's the chance that I'm going to win that game? The deck was stacked, and stacked heavily. Then, of course, there was the blessed gift of the emails. There have been many gifts of these exposed emails, but these pertain to the DNC conspiring against Bernie Sanders. Right there in black and white, any way that they could to get an edge on this guy to make sure that... Now, see, the DNC is supposed to work for both parties. Understand that. It's supposed to work for both of them equally. That's not what happened here. And they had to fire 5 people. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was one of them. And what happens as soon as they fire her? Hillary gives her another position hours later. Boy, I bet she really learned her lesson, didn't she? Good job, Hillary. Now let's go back. This is not the first time that they've made sure that we have no choice of who we're going to vote for. This is not the first time by a long shot. You go back to George W. Bush, right before Barack Obama's candidacy. All right. Now, Barack, of course, came into office right after George W. Bush was in office, and George W. didn't have the greatest approval rating. And so now here comes along the first candidacy of Barack Obama. And who do the Republicans decide to run against Barack Obama? John McCain. Now, fine, he may be a war hero, and I give any guy credit who is in the military because, you know, you're willing to go into a situation where people are really trying to kill you. They're actually shooting live bullets at you. You are a bad man, so I'll give him that. But by the time he ran against Barack Obama, come on, the guy was a fossil. He had the charm of a frozen Snickers bar. And you're going to run him against Mr. Charisma, Barack Obama? The Republicans used him as a sacrificial lamb. They threw the election. For some reason, both parties wanted Obama in office. Yeah, and maybe part of the reason was because this junior senator would act as they want, as a puppet, as a complete figurehead. And more, that's what the presidency is. So they are controlling who they put in office. Both sides are conspiring to do this. Go back to George W. Bush when he was when he ran for office. George W. Bush was put in office as a favor to his daddy. George W. Bush failed in everything he did. Every business venture, everything he touched failed. And guess what? They made him president of the United States. And who did they run against him? Another guy that's just loaded with charisma. Al Gore. You know, thank God we didn't have to deal with an Al Gore, John McCain presidential fight. We would have all died in front of our TV sets of sheer boredom. But luckily that didn't happen. So, you know, now I don't know, I wasn't able to track, you know, how far back this goes, them engineering who's in office. Oh, now, and let's not forget here, I forgot to mention the fact that even though they ran Gore against Bush, now, he was a vice president, I understand that, so that's kind of a natural progression, all right? But no one expected him to be able to beat Bush because of his complete lack of personality. What happened, though? He almost beat him. As a matter of fact, he did beat him. It was announced that he beat him, and then they had to retract it. What happened? It came down to Florida, of course. Many of you remember that. And what happened with Florida? So NBC called the race for Al Gore 12 minutes before the polling stations closed in Florida. So then what happened after that was they realized they had made a mistake. that the polling stations in Florida were still open. So now that election was so close that the margin of error dictated a mandatory recount. So the mandatory recount was started as it should have been. And what happened? The courts decided, no, you don't have to finish the count. George Bush is president. Really? We can circumvent the very processes that are put into place to assure the correct outcome? Yes, they can, because they make the law. So they can break the laws. They can do anything they want. So they made sure that George Bush got into office. Now, what are some other ways in which they conspired to steal democracy from us? No ID. How do they make a law where it's okay for you to vote for somebody and you don't even have an ID? How do they know who you are? This is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Now, I understand this is primarily a Democratic thing to expand their voting base, but if you can't get together enough to get an ID, I don't want your brain cells doing the voting, because something is wrong. You can't rub together two brain cells to get you to DMV to get an ID. You don't need any say in what happens in our country. Another important fact here that just blew my mind, I just found this out. 75% of the voting machines are backed up by paper ballots. So if a recount is necessary, you can go back and you can count actual paper ballots. 25% of the machines are not backed up by paper ballots. That's huge. Think about it for a minute. 25% of the machines can then be manipulated to any outcome that they want. Wake up, people. You really need to understand what's happening, because before you know it, this society is going to be completely run by that top 1%, and who knows what kind of laws we'll be living under, as it is with this whole multicultural thing and the direction that's going in. That's a nightmare. So people really need to wake up to what's going on, because you're the only chance that we have of turning any of this around. And that kind of brings me to kind of my conclusion on the subject is what needs to be done about it. And one of the things I think is hypervigilance. We have got to be on top of this, whether it's through the internet, through YouTube. YouTube is an amazing medium. I think it's only going to grow. I know that they're kind of restricting some content here. Hopefully that doesn't go on too much, because it is an amazing tool for the average person to be able to see what's happening around the world. And of course, there are other things. You can go to the library and actually read a book, and you can use your computer. Find these things out. Again, like I always say, educate yourself. That's what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go along in a lot of cases here. And in this election, if there's a massive voter turnout for Trump, there's no way that they can steal this from him. Make it known, record it. If you go to the voting booth and something funny is going on, record it on your cell phone. Even if you only get audio, record that. Make sure people know what's going on. Make sure that this is fair. Now, I plan on doing a segment exclusively on voter fraud and is it possible? How is it possible? How would it work? So maybe if you tune into that and share that, once it's developed, we can keep an eye on the possibility of voter fraud. Now, right now at this point, I don't know how. I know it's possible because historically it has happened. But how possible is it nowadays? How probable is it? We'll go into that in another segment. And the other thing that we have to do to stop this absolute theft of democracy is we have to get big money donors out of politics. There's no way that you can have a system that has no corruption or cut down on the corruption without getting rid of these big donors. It doesn't make any sense. Think about it, folks. If somebody you are just an acquaintance with sees you're in a hardship, and you need to put an addition on your house, and he gives you $50,000 to put an addition on your house, and then 2 years, 3 years later, he needs a favor. Are you not going to give that guy a favor? Of course you are. It's the same thing here. If you dump tens of millions of dollars into a candidate's campaign, you owe them. So that means that you're going to make decisions based on who you owe money to. That makes no sense. Big money has got to be driven out of politics. As a matter of fact, I think all donations should be anonymous. The candidates should never know who gave them money. But that's not going to happen because the system we live in is absolutely pay for play. And that's, again, one of the things that Donald Trump breached a little bit that he might be willing to disrupt. And that's a little bit why they're so afraid of him. The big money. Okay, yes, also, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was we have to do away with the two-party system. It doesn't work. It's broken. It is massively corrupt. It is divisive in its very nature. Two-party system. If you get a Democratic president and a Republican Congress, you're not getting anything done. Take a look at the last 8 years for Barack Obama. Not everything was his fault. He couldn't get anything passed. He had to do everything via executive order. So we have to do away with the two-party system. It doesn't work. It's divisive in its very nature. I believe the candidates should just run on who they are, what their record is, what they stand for, and maybe that way we can make some real progress in this country. All right, that's a little bit about how I feel that democracy's been stolen from us. I always welcome comments. I really want to build more of a rapport with an audience. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear where you think I messed up. I can absolutely make a mistake. I'm sure I have. If I do, once again, I tell you, point it out. I'll fix it. I will never try to cover up. I will guarantee you one thing. I will never bring you information that is purposely misleading or that is out and out a lie, which the lamestream media and CNN, my God, I can't watch them. At some point, I'm going to do a special on how horrible they are at manipulating and outright lying. I caught the Washington Post line, but that'll be in another segment. So we're going to do an expose really on the mainstream media lying. Fox does its share of slanting the news also, but I have to say, in an unbiased assessment, they really try to stay a little bit more on the side of what is correct, and they're not as slanted. But let's see. I'll continue to kind of investigate all of these institutions and, again, try to bring you the truth. So that's it for this segment. Coming up next, we're going to discuss Hillary's health.
This is the song that's going to change my life.
And now the end is near, and so she'll face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. She's lived a life of lies, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not her. She did it lie away. Regrets she doesn't do. Of course for her there's no redemption. She did whatever she wanted to and saw it through with redaction. She planned each lie, of course, but she collapsed all over the byway. Oh, and more, much more than this, she did lie away. Yes, there were times, I'm sure Bill knew, that she bit off more than she could chew. it all. When there was doubt, CNN lied and bailed her out. She dodged it all, 'cause she's so small, and did it my way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I told you if you tuned in, this would be news and entertainment. I hope that song passes as entertainment. All right, but Hillary's health. And I don't mean to make fun of anybody who is ill. Not even Hillary. We want to keep her out of the office. That's obvious by now. I told you how I feel about that. So, I want to establish here, we're not trying to be mean, having a little fun there. But seriously, there's something wrong with this woman's health. And I was one of the ones to hold out so long on saying that she was seriously ill. People were coming to me with information. Well, look at this, and we see this, and this is going on. Even my technical advisor, who likes to remain nameless, he was showing me different videos of her with the bobblehead incident, and then there were all the coughing things. And I said, yeah, people really like to kind of, manipulate these things and make them seem worse. But after seeing her fall on her face on 9/11, I'm sorry, that's it. In my opinion, I thought it was going to be the end of her candidacy. In my opinion, that was it. It was over. It's a done deal. She's done. But of course, the lamestream media is not going to have it. CNN, boom, right in there covering up for her right away. And Fox even played into it a little bit. I'm telling you, I don't know. I think maybe Fox is even in the whole conspiracy to keep Trump out, even though they're to the right. I don't want to get too crazy, but you know what? Let me say something about this whole conspiracy theory issue anyways. Sometimes it's not a conspiracy theory. Sometimes these are facts that they want you to ignore. But at any rate, so I didn't believe it. I wasn't buying the whole Hillary thing too much. She's older, whatever. But you put it all together, and it just, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Well, guess what? It's a duck. Okay? Coughing.
Roasting us.
3, 4, 5 minutes at a time. And this has been going on for years. This is not from pneumonia. This has been going on for years. The way she passed out. You do not pass out from... Now, I am not an MD. But I have, in researching this piece, listened to plenty of MDs. And this is common sense. You don't pass out like she passed out from pneumonia. And if you do... Yes, let me correct that. And if you do pass out from pneumonia like that, you don't get up an hour later outside of your daughter's apartment and play with a little kid. If you passed out from pneumonia, that means it's wiped you out. You're done for days. That collapse was not because pneumonia. Stop it. Stop insulting our intelligence, all right? And of course, right away they cover up. It was a heat stroke. Now, by now, we all know it's garbage. It was not heat. It was not from the heat. It was 75 to 80 degrees and breezy. All right, and nobody else passed out. Only Hillary. You put one thing together, maybe. Another thing, more interesting. And finally, there's only one conclusion that you can draw. This lady is ill. Another thing. Sometimes I can't read my own notes. The only bad thing about getting older is called macular degeneration. My eyesight was perfect, now it's not so perfect. Now it appears, now watch the video, the videos are out there. It appears some kind of metal object fell out of her pants when they were grabbing her as she was bobbling around trying to go down. All right? You can even hear the ding, ding. That metal object came from somewhere. Now, it's a possibility it was from one of the Secret Service guys or something like that. But it really looks like it came out of her pants. This goes along with photos that I've seen of what looks like a catheter running down the front of her pants. All right? Now, again, I see this stuff and I go, oh no, this is conspiracy. This is people just trying to draw these inferences, put things together. But at some point, it can't be ignored. This woman is falling apart. And the worst part of it all is, again, is the lying. Now, I give it to you. I know that she can't be completely honest about her health because then nobody's going to vote for her. But, it's just a continuing process of lies. And that's the reason why I was I don't want to say I was happy that she collapsed. But I was happy that it happened so the world can see what a complete liar this woman is. Now, another thing you can take a look at what's representative of her health. She's not speaking for more than like 10 minutes at a time. I don't know how she's going to make it through the debates. If she makes it through the debates, this is going to be a little bit of a miracle. And all of her surrogates are kind of standing in for her. This is still going on. All right, so that's it. I don't want to go on forever with this. It was just an interesting point. Things are happening faster with this crazy election cycle than I can even get information out about. Of course, you make your own decision. But if I am wrong about her being seriously ill, I will be absolutely flabbergasted. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in so much. Hope you enjoyed it. What we're going to do is we're going to break it up into a couple of segments. There's so much material to cover. The next segment will be about race. Who's a racist? Who's not a racist? We're going to delve into the subject of murder. We're going to get into that too. And by the time the next video is out, the first debate will have already happened. So we're going to do a commentary on the debate, see how it all went. So thank you very much for tuning in, and good night. God bless.